Welcome back to Empowering the Educator Within, the podcast that brings real talk and thoughtful insight to the everyday challenges educators face. I'm your host, Christina Shala. Today we're diving into a conversation that came up unexpectedly, but one that really stuck with me. It started during a casual chat with a few teachers at my daughter's school. The topic? Students on IEPs, and how we report on their progress. At first glance, it might seem straightforward, but as the conversation unfolded, it became clear that even seasoned educators weren't always on the same page. Should students on individual education plans be assessed at their grade level or at the level they're currently working at? Let's start by unpacking what each option really means, because both carry very different implications. If we assess students at their official grade level, what we're essentially doing is holding them to the same standard as their peers, regardless of where they're at in their learning journey. And while that may sound equitable in theory, in practice, it often leads to these students being marked as emerging on BC's proficiency scale in all affected subject areas. Now, while this discussion is framed around British Columbia's proficiency scale, these challenges aren't unique to BC. In fact, educators across many regions, both in Canada and internationally, face similar dilemmas. The question of how to fairly and accurately assess students whose current performance doesn't match their assigned grade level is a much broader issue. It's something many schools are wrestling with, regardless of the reporting system they use. Even more concerning, it raises the question of whether the assignments we're giving these students, however scaffolded or differentiated, are still too far above their actual level. If they're always reaching, but never achieving, what message does that send? On the flip side, if we assess students based on the level they're currently working at, things look a little different. Let's say we have a student in grade 6 who is working at a grade 3 level in reading and writing. Instead of handing them material that's too complex or out of reach, we give them assignments that align with their current abilities. They can then demonstrate their learning in a meaningful way, and perhaps even receive a grade of proficient at that grade 3 level. It's a more compassionate and individualized approach. It gives the student a chance to feel successful, to see their progress in black and white, and to build confidence along the way. But, and there's always a but, this approach gets more complicated at the high school level, particularly when we start thinking about graduation requirements and post-secondary pathways. If a student is in grade 12, but working at a grade 10 level, how do we represent that on a transcript? And how does that impact their options after high school? This is where the conversation becomes more complex. And frankly, it's where clearer guidance is needed. Because here's the reality. Right now, many educators are stuck between two imperfect options. Either a student is assessed at grade level and is consistently labeled as emerging, which can be discouraging, or they're assessed at a lower level without a clear strategy for catching up to grade level expectations. Neither outcome is ideal. I don't have the perfect solution, but I do believe we need to start having this conversation more openly and more often. We need systems that recognize effort, support growth, and don't trap students in a cycle of perceived failure. And if you're wondering what a possible solution might look like, stay tuned. In our next episode, we'll explore the idea of dual tracking report cards and whether they could be part of the answer. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How does your school approach reporting for students on IEPs? Do you feel you have the support and clarity you need? You can read the full article on the education blog at shalabooks.com and join the conversation. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Empowering the Educator Within for more insights, ideas, and honest talk about the challenges and triumphs of today's educators.